If you don't live in Colorado, then you should know that there is a beast of local legend, with slits for eyes and a mouth that runs all the way behind its ears. Its forked tail has grab hooks that let it hang from mountain ledges, and it eats tourists whole. Remember that, dear traveler. Hello there. If you're new to the channel, we explore weird legends, lore, myths, and much more. Today we travel to the mountains of Colorado to track down the Slide Rock Boulter. For centuries, lumber workers and woodsmen have shared stories of lore and legends, and all have been spoken about and circulated. The first concrete reference of the Boulter comes from forester William T. Cox. Spending much of his life in the woodlands and forests of the United States and Canada, Cox collected the stories of lumbermen and the fantastical creatures they were said to have encountered. The book, Fearsome Creatures of the Lumberwoods, outlines these beasts, including the animal known as the Slide Rock Boulter. This creature is described as an enormous land whale with an immense head, small eyes, and a gigantic mouth that curls behind its ears. Its tail has grab hooks on the divided end, which allows it to hang on the precipice of steep mountains that have an angle that is 45 degrees or greater. Once the Slide Rock Boulter spots its prey, it lets go from its rocky perch and allows gravity to hurtle it down the slope. The oily saliva it secretes helps the Boulter to maintain intense speeds. Trees, boulders, and anything else in its path are obliterated, flattened, or pulled roots and all from the ground. With a taste for tourists, the monster scoops up and eats its victims, individuals and groups alike, with one ginormous gulp. The Boulter is then propelled up the next mountain, where it hooks back onto the cliff, and will remain until its interest or hunger is piqued once again. According to the Boulter excerpt in the Fearsome Creatures book, a forest ranger decided to put a plan to get rid of the monster into action by dressing up a decoy tourist with a plaid Norfolk jacket, knee breeches, a Colorado guidebook, and then filled it with explosives. The decoy grabbed the attention of the beast, which had been hanging on the side of Lizard Head for several days at that point. It released its hold and went barreling down the mountainside. The resulting explosion that came from the Boulter ingesting the decoy was said to have flattened half the buildings in the mining town of Rico. The body of the Slide Rock Boulter would go on to feed the buzzards that summer, and the buildings in Rico would remain flattened, never to be rebuilt. Described by the Minnesota Department of Natural Resources as a prolific writer and imaginative humorist, Cox published his book in 1910. In the following decades, there were numerous newspapers, such as the El Paso Herald, the Omaha Sunday Bee, and the Hartford Courant, that circulated the Boulter's lore and highlighted some of the other beasts mentioned in the published book. With these subsequent circulations, there have been small additions as well as varying summaries that could and may have influenced future retellings. It could be said that that is what occurs with most types of folklore and legends. Much of the folklore that has spread throughout time, across regions, countries, and continents, has happened through the art of storytelling. Many tales were not written down until much later, and only after they were retold numerous times. This is the case with the lore crafted, told, and repeated by lumber and woodsmen. Many times, lore and stories retold through various generations are meant to give reason for why things occurred, or to share morals and beliefs. Perhaps that is the case with the Slide Rock Boulter. Could the fact that the Boulter explosion was said to have flattened buildings in Rico be just a fictional reasoning for why the mining town became so desolate? Rico, settled sometime between 1878 and 1880, developed a booming economy and population in the wake of westward expansion and the rise of the gold and silver rush. But with the silver crash of 1895, the long-standing ebb and flow of its community, and the decline in mining, Rico fell on hard times, and many left the once bustling town. Could it be that the declining town was a partial catalyst for the story's creation? The same questions could be posed for the wasteland that was supposedly left behind after the Slide Rock Bolter's Great Drop. Was the Bolter story created as reasoning for the unseemly landscape left behind from the process of collecting wood? Or possibly a more appeasing tale created from the real-life implications of overlogging? Maybe it's none of those things, and rather just a myth told by older lumbermen to novice loggers as part of some sort of initiation. The Golden Dale Sentinel details how these old-timers would have bull sessions in which they discuss their encounters with gruesome and monstrous creatures while working in the woodlands. If there is something we have learned about lumbermen, as documented here and in the previous Ozark Howler videos, they love to tell stories. In the case of the Howler, there were the woodsmen who used the concatenated order of hoo-hoo and the feared wampus cats as an excuse to get away with a bit of respite from work. In this case, the Slide Rock Bolter's lore, whatever its origin, has persisted and been spread by means of storytelling. This art form keeps history, folklore, traditions, and cultures thriving across decades and centuries. So perhaps, just like the Ozark Howler, the Whistling Wampus, and the feared panthers of old lore, the Slide Rock Bolter's story will continue to live on. Thank you so much for watching and making it to the end of the video. Please subscribe and like. I very much appreciate it. Please comment down below. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this one. If you noticed, we talked about the concatenated order of hoo-hoo and the Ozark Howler and the very feared wampus cats. I did not think that this is where this video was gonna go, or that I was going to mention them anymore. I thought after those two Ozark Howler videos that was the last time I was going to talk about it. And I was hoping it was the last time I was going to talk about it, because I almost went crazy over going down rabbit holes with the hoo-hoo order. And if you had been here while I was researching the Slide Rock Bolter, you would have known how, I don't even know how to put it in words. I just couldn't believe. So I opened up the Fearsome Creatures of the Lumberwood book, and I was just looking at the title page and scrolling through, and I get to the page with the inscription. I'll even put it on screen. Affectionately dedicated to the concatenated order of hoo-hoo and all who know the Fellowship of the Woods, number 19949. I couldn't believe it. So I'm assuming that that's his member number and he's a member of the concatenated order of hoo-hoo. But if you don't know what I'm talking about, I highly recommend you watching the Ozark Howler videos. It's another deep dive. I really enjoyed it. I almost went crazy during the research process with all the rabbit holes, but I'm very proud of those videos, and I think the research is serious, but the whole tale of the Ozark Howler is hilarious, and so I highly recommend them. But now that I'm done rambling, because that's how I get after researching and recording these videos, I just want to say thank you again. As always, I truly appreciate it. I am going to try and be more consistent with posting from now on. Also, if you have anything that you want to see covered on the channel, please feel free to put it. There's a link in the description where you can submit any questions you have about folklore, legends, cryptids, or if you want to see something covered, you can recommend something. And thank you again for watching, and until next time, stay safe and stay spooky.